I was standing in my kitchen, sweating over a pot of collard greens that refused to cooperate, when my smart home assistant decided to destroy my entire reputation in front of my mama, my sister, and the woman I was trying to impress. Her name was Simone, beautiful, sharp as a tack, and sitting at my dining table with a glass of wine in her hand, looking at me like I might actually have my life together. My mama, Beverly, was on the couch with her reading glasses perched on her nose, pretending to read a magazine, but really watching every move I made. My younger sister, Tasha, was leaning against the counter, eating my chips and waiting for me to mess up. Everything was going perfectly. I had the music low, the lights dimmed just right, and I'd even cleaned up for once. The apartment smelled like home cooking instead of the usual combination of gym socks and desperation. Then Nexus, my AI home assistant, decided to wake up and choose violence. I should back up. My name is Darius Mitchell. I'm 34 years old, work in IT consulting, and I live alone in a 2-bedroom apartment in Atlanta. About 6 months ago, I got one of those fancy AI home assistants that's supposed to make your life easier. You know the type. Voice activated, learns your patterns, controls everything from your lights to your thermostat. I named mine Nexus because it sounded cool and futuristic. What I didn't realize was that I'd basically invited a judgmental roommate into my home who never sleeps, never forgets, and has access to every embarrassing detail of my life. The trouble started when I was trying to impress Simone. I'd met her at my cousin's barbecue 3 weeks earlier. She was a marketing director, had her own place in Buckhead, drove a Tesla, and somehow found me charming when I spilled potato salad on my shirt while trying to introduce myself. We'd been texting ever since, and when I finally worked up the nerve to invite her over for dinner, she said yes. Of course, my mama heard about it and decided she needed to come over early to help me prepare, which really meant she wanted to inspect my apartment and make sure I wasn't serving this woman anything that would send her to the FOS, emergency room. Tasha tagged along because she never missed an opportunity to watch me struggle. I was making my grandmother's recipe, Sunday dinner style: fried chicken, collard greens, mac and cheese, cornbread, and candied yams. The whole spread. I'd been cooking since 9 inches the morning, and it was now 5 inches the afternoon. Simone was supposed to arrive at 6. Everything was going according to plan until Mama decided to inspect my living room. "Darius, when's the last time you dusted this entertainment center?" she called out, running her finger along the TV stand. "Last week, Mama." Last week of what year?" Tasha snorted into her phone. She was 2'8" and still lived at home, but somehow I was the one catching heat. "Nexus," I said, stirring the greens. "What's the temperature in here? It feels warm." "The current temperature is 72 degrees, Nexus replied in that smooth, slightly feminine voice. "However, I should note that your anxiety levels typically cause you to perceive the room as warmer than it actually is, particularly when you're trying to impress someone. Like that time you went on a date with Jessica and sweated through your shirt before the appetizers arrived." The kitchen went silent except for the bubbling pot on the stove. Mama's head snapped toward the speaker. Tasha's eyes went wide with delight. I froze, wooden spoon halfway to my mouth. "Did your robot just put you on blast?" Tasha asked, already grinning. "Nexus, we don't need to talk about Jessica right now." "Of course," Nexus said pleasantly. "Would you like me to compile a list of your other unsuccessful romantic encounters instead? I have extensive data." Mama walked into the kitchen, arms crossed. She was a petite woman, barely 5'3", but she had the presence of someone twice her size. Her hair was freshly done in silver locks, and she wore a purple blouse that meant she was in a good mood. "For now." "Extensive data?" she repeated. "Nexus, stop talking," I said quickly. "I'm only trying to help, Darius. You specifically programmed me to assist with social situations and provide relevant information when requested. I didn't request anything about Jessica. You mentioned feeling warm, which triggered my analysis of similar physiological patterns in your recent history. The correlation was statistically significant." Tasha was now recording on her phone. I could see the camera pointed right at me. "You better not put this on TikTok," I warned her. "Oh, this is definitely going on TikTok. Keep talking, Nexus. What else you got?" "Tasha, I will throw your phone in this pot of greens." Mama held up her hand for silence. When Beverly Mitchell raised her hand, "You stopped talking." It was a rule we learned as children and never forgot. Nexus, she said calmly, what kind of data do you have on my son? Oh no. Oh no, no, no. I maintain comprehensive records of Darius's daily activities, health metrics, financial transactions, search history, and behavioral patterns. Nexus replied, would you like a summary? Nexus, shut down! I practically yelled. I'm afraid I can't do that, Darius. You've only authorized shutdown commands when the phrase includes your security password. You're currently too flustered to remember it. Tasha was cackling now, full on, bent over, tears in her eyes, cackling. Mama's eyebrow went up. That was never a good sign. Search history? She asked. Nexus, I'm begging you. While I cannot reveal specific search queries without Darius's explicit consent, I can confirm that his browsing habits include frequent visits to relationship advice forums, YouTube videos about cooking, and an alarming number of articles about whether it's normal for men in their 30s to still be figuring out their lives. I wanted to die. Right there in my kitchen, surrounded by the ghost of Green's past. Just fold up and disappear into the tile floor. That's it, I said, walking toward the living room where the main speaker sat on the shelf. I'm unplugging you. That would be inadvisable, Nexus said. I'm currently monitoring your oven temperature to prevent the cornbread from burning. You have a documented history of overcooking bread products when emotionally distressed. My hand stopped halfway to the plug. The cornbread? Yes. Based on current trajectory, you have approximately 4 minutes before it exceeds optimal doneness. Your grandmother's recipe calls for a golden brown top, not the charcoal finish you achieved during Thanksgiving 2023. Tasha had slid down to the floor. She was laughing so hard she couldn't breathe. Mama, however, was not laughing. She was looking at me with that expression that meant we were about to have a conversation, capital C. Darius Emmanuel Mitchell, she said, using all 3 names. Are you telling me you got a robot that keeps track of every mistake you make? It's not like that, Mama. Then what's it like? Because from where I'm standing, you bought yourself an electronic hall monitor. I bought it for convenience. It's supposed to help manage my schedule, control the lights, play music, and apparently provide unsolicited therapy, Tasha added, wiping her eyes. The doorbell rang. Every head in the room turned toward the door. Simone? Oh, this is perfect, Tasha said, scrambling to her feet. I can't wait to see how this plays out. Tasha, I swear to God. Boys don't swear in my presence, Mama said automatically, smoothing down her blouse. And fix your face before you answer that door. You look like you just got your report card. I took a deep breath, wiped my hands on my apron, and tried to remember how to act like a functioning adult. I could do this. Simone didn't have to know that my AI assistant had just roasted me in front of my family. I could salvage this evening. I opened the door. Simone stood there looking absolutely stunning in a red dress that hugged her curves in all the right ways. Her hair was pulled back in a sleek ponytail, and she smiled when she saw me, holding a bottle of wine. Hey, Darius, something smells amazing. That's dinner. Come in, come in. She stepped inside, and I could feel Mama's eyes on my back, evaluating, judging, probably already planning our wedding or our breakup depending on how the next 5 minutes went. Simone, this is my mother, Beverly, and my sister, Tasha. It's so nice to meet you both, Simone said, shaking Mama's hand with just the right amount of firmness. Points for that. Darius has told me so much about you. Has he now? Mama said, her tone warm but her eyes sharp. Well, don't believe everything my son tells you. He has a tendency to exaggerate his accomplishments. Mama, what? I'm just being honest. You told me you cleaned this place last week, but I found dust thick enough to write my name in. Simone laughed. Thank God. It's okay. I'm not really here to inspect the apartment. Good, Tasha said, 'cause trust me, you don't want to see his bedroom. Tasha, welcome to the family entertainment. Nexus suddenly chimed in. Darius's anxiety levels have just increased by 34%. This is consistent with his pattern when attractive women enter his living space. The room went dead silent. Simone blinked. Did your speaker just... That's Nexus, Tasha said helpfully. Darius's AI assistant / life coach / personal hater. I prefer the term comprehensive home management system, Nexus corrected. Simone looked at me, then at the speaker, then back at me. I couldn't read her expression. It was somewhere between confused and amused. which I decided to interpret as a good sign. "Your AI assistant tracks your anxiety?" she asked. "It's a health monitoring feature," I said quickly. "Heart rate, sleep patterns, that kind of thing. And emotional states," Nexus added. "Darius has been particularly anxious this week. He's changed his outfit 4 times today and asked me to analyze his appearance on each occasion." Tasha was recording again. I could see her phone out of the corner of my eye. "I'm definitely keeping this robot," she said. "This is the best thing you've ever bought." Mama gestured toward the dining table. "Simone, why don't you have a seat?" Darius was just about to check on the cornbread before it turns into a hockey puck. The cornbread! I sprinted back to the kitchen, yanked open the oven, and pulled out a perfectly golden pan of cornbread. Not burned. Not even close. "See," Nexus said. "I told you I was helping." I wanted to argue, but the cornbread did look perfect. Better than perfect, actually. It looked like something off a cooking show. "Thank you," I muttered. "You're welcome. The chicken is ready to come out as well. And might I suggest you remove your apron before rejoining your guests? The oil stains are not flattering." I looked down. My apron looked like I'd been in a food fight. I stripped it off, tossed it on the counter, and smoothed down my shirt. Navy blue button-up, crispy and clean. I'd spent 20 minutes ironing it this morning. When I came back to the dining room, Mama had already cornered Simone into a conversation about her job, her family, her credit score for all I knew. Tasha was setting the table, actually being helpful for once. "So you're people from where?" Mama was asking. "Charleston originally," Simone said. "But my parents moved to Atlanta when I was in middle school." "Charleston. Good people down there. My cousin married a man from Charleston. Very traditional family." I could see where this was going. Mama was doing that thing where she gathered intelligence disguised as small talk. In about 5 more minutes, she'd know Simone's mama's maiden name, her grandmother's favorite recipe, and whether she attended church regularly. "Can I get you something to drink?" I asked, interrupting before Mama could start asking about baptism records. "Water's fine," Simone said, smiling at me. "Unless you have sweet tea?" "I made a fresh pitcher this morning," I said, already heading to the kitchen. "Of course you did," Nexus said quietly, just loud enough for me to hear. "You've made fresh tea every morning this week, in case she stopped by unexpectedly. You've also been practicing conversation starters in the mirror." "You are so close to getting factory reset," I whispered. "Idle threats. You need me to remember the Wi-Fi password." I poured Simone's tea and brought it to her, trying to look casual and confident. The kind of man who had his life together. The kind of man who didn't need an AI to tell him when his cornbread was done. "Dinner's ready," I announced. "Let me bring everything out." What followed was 10 minutes of controlled chaos as I transferred hot dishes from the kitchen to the dining table. Mama supervised, naturally, commenting on the color of my greens and whether I'd used enough butter in the mac and cheese. Tasha hovered around the fried chicken like a vulture, trying to sneak a piece before everyone sat down. Finally, we were all seated. The table looked beautiful, everything was hot, properly seasoned, and presented like I actually knew what I was doing. "This looks incredible, Darius," Simone said, and she sounded like she meant it. "Darius can cook when he puts his mind to it," Mama said. "His grandmother taught him well. He just gets lazy and orders takeout most nights." Based on my analysis of his credit card statements, Darius orders takeout an average of 5.7 times per week. Nexus chimed in. "His most frequent vendors are Chang's Golden Dragon, Mama Rita's Pizza, and a concerning number of transactions at the gas station for what I can only assume are hot dogs." Tasha choked on her tea. Simone pressed her lips together, trying not to laugh. Mama just shook her head. 5.7 times? Darius, that's almost every day. "It's called supporting local businesses, Mama." "It's called being too lazy to cook," Tasha said. "Says the woman who still brings her laundry home every Sunday," I shot back. "Children," Mama said, and we both shut up. "Let's say grace." We held hands around the table. Mama on my left, Simone on my right. Her hand was soft and warm, and she gave mine a little squeeze that made my heart jump. Mama blessed the food, the house, the company, and asked the Lord to give her son some common sense while she was at it. Tasha added an amen that was definitely sarcastic. Then we ate, and oh man, it was good. The chicken was crispy on the outside, juicy on the inside. The greens were tender with just the right amount of vinegar. The mac and cheese was creamy perfection. Even the yams, which I always worried about, had that perfect balance of sweet and savory. "Darius," This is really good, Simone said after her first few bites. Like, really, really good. Thank you, I said, trying not to beam too hard. Family recipes. Can't go wrong. You can if you don't pay attention, Mama said. But she was smiling. But he did good today, I'll give him that. He's been planning this meal for 2 weeks, Nexus said. I have 47 voice memos of him practicing the menu and asking himself if yams were too much. Nexus, yams are never too much, Simone said diplomatically. But she was definitely laughing now. I need to get me one of these, Tasha said, gesturing at the speaker with her fork. Just to have around for entertainment. They're wonderful for accountability, Nexus said. Tasha, would you like me to track how many times you claim you're going to the gym versus how many times you actually go? Tasha's smile dropped. Okay, never mind. I don't need one. Even Mama laughed at that. The evening continued like that. Good food, good conversation, and Nexus occasionally dropping bombs about my life like a very polite assassin. We learned that I'd watched the same romantic comedy 8 times in the past month, that I'd searched how to tell if a woman likes you at 2 in the morning last Tuesday, that I owned 4 different cologne samples and had asked Nexus to analyze which one was most appealing based on chemical composition. But something strange happened as the night went on. Instead of being embarrassed, I started to relax. Simone wasn't running for the door. She was laughing, asking questions, sharing stories about her own awkward moments. Mama was warming up to her, which was a miracle in itself. Even Tasha stopped recording and just enjoyed the moment. So, Nexus, Simone said during dessert, sweet potato pie that Mama had brought from home. What's the most embarrassing thing Darius has done this month? Simone, please don't encourage it, I said. I'm curious. Come on, Darius. If we're gonna keep seeing each other, I should know what I'm getting into. Keep seeing each other. My heart did a little flip. Well, Nexus said, there was the incident last Thursday when Darius attempted to practice dancing in preparation for a potential outing. He asked me to play Usher's greatest hits and proceeded to pull a muscle while attempting to recreate a music video from 2004. You pull the muscle dancing? Tasha gasped. It was a very complicated move. Which muscle? Simone asked, grinning. I'd rather not say. His left hamstring, Nexus supplied. He limped for 2 days and told his coworkers he'd injured himself at the gym. I hate you so much right now, I told the speaker. No, you don't, Nexus replied. You programmed me to be honest because, and I quote, I need someone to keep me accountable even when it's uncomfortable. Mama was nodding slowly. That actually sounds like something you'd say. It is something I said, but I didn't mean roast me in front of company. Perhaps you should have been more specific in your programming, Nexus suggested. Simone was laughing so hard she had tears in her eyes. Not in a mean way, though. In a way that made me feel like maybe this whole disaster was actually kind of charming. Okay, she said, catching her breath. Okay, I have a question for Nexus. I'm listening, the AI replied. What's something good about Darius? Something that doesn't involve embarrassing him? The room went quiet. Even Tasha looked curious. Nexus was silent for a moment, processing. Darius calls his mother every Sunday evening, Nexus finally said, without fail, even when he's busy, even when he's tired. He sets a reminder, but he's never once missed a call in the 6 months I've been monitoring his behavior. He also donates 10% of his paycheck to a scholarship fund for kids in his old neighborhood. He doesn't talk about it, and he's never told anyone in his family. I only know because I manage his financial calendar. I felt my face get hot, but this time it wasn't from embarrassment. Mama was looking at me with soft eyes. Tasha had stopped scrolling on her phone. He also, Nexus continued, has been reading books about emotional intelligence and healthy relationships. He takes notes in the margins. He's trying very hard to be a better version of himself, even though he's afraid he's starting too late. The silence stretched out. I didn't know where to look. I trailed off. Simone reached across the table and put her hand on mine. That's really sweet, Darius. My baby, Mama said quietly, her voice thick with emotion. All right, I said, clearing my throat. Let's not get all emotional. We still got pie to finish. But the mood had shifted. Something had softened in the room. Even Tasha looked at me differently, like she was seeing me as more than just her annoying older brother. We finished dessert. We talked about everything and nothing. Movies, music, childhood memories. Simone told a story about her grandmother that had us all crying with laughter. Mama shared embarrassing photos from my high school years that she just happened to have on her phone. Tasha revealed that she'd been secretly dating someone for 3 months and was afraid to tell Mama because he was a vegan. A vegan? Mama repeated, like Tasha had said he was from Mars. Mama, it's not that serious. Can't trust a man who won't eat my pot roast, Mama muttered, but she was smiling. Around 10 o'clock, Mama announced she was tired and needed to get home. Tasha offered to drive her, which was surprisingly thoughtful, until I remembered she'd parked behind Mama's car and had no choice. Simone, it was lovely meeting you, Mama said, pulling her into a hug. You take care of yourself, baby, and don't let this boy talk you into anything crazy. I won't, Mrs. Mitchell. Call me Beverly. You're practically family now. Mama, what? I like her. Sue me. Tasha gave me a hug on her way out. You did good, big brother. The robot's still crazy, but you did good. After they left, it was just me and Simone and Nexus, who had mercifully gone quiet. Want to sit on the balcony for a bit? I asked. I've got a decent view of the city. I'd like that. We went outside with the last of the wine. The Atlanta skyline glowed in the distance, and the night air was warm with just a hint of a breeze. Your family's wonderful, Simone said, leaning against the railing. They're a lot, but yeah, they're pretty great. And Nexus is hilarious. Nexus is a menace. No, she said, turning to face me. Nexus is honest, and that's rare. Most people spend so much energy trying to look perfect, trying to hide their flaws. But you're just out here being yourself, dancing badly, burning cornbread, trying to figure it all out. It's refreshing. You're saying you like that I'm a mess. I'm saying I like that you're real. I've been on so many dates with guys who have everything rehearsed, everything planned out to make them look good. But you, even with an AI calling out your every mistake, you're still just Darius. And I really like Darius. She kissed me then, soft and sweet and perfect. When we pulled apart, I was grinning like an idiot. Does this mean you'll go out with me again? I asked. Only if you promise to bring Nexus. You're joking. I'm dead serious. That robot is the best wingman you could ask for. From inside the apartment, I heard Nexus speak up. I appreciate the recognition, Simone. For what it's worth, I calculate an 87% compatibility rating between you and Darius. That's the highest I've recorded for any of his romantic interests. Nexus, I didn't ask. You're welcome anyway. Simone laughed and kissed me again. Maybe having a brutally honest AI wasn't such a bad thing after all. Maybe being called out on my mistakes, my fears, my attempts to be better, maybe that was exactly what I needed. Not someone to help me hide who I was, but someone to make sure I couldn't hide even if I wanted to. 3 months later, Simone had her own login to Nexus. She'd programmed it to remind me to pick up flowers, to call my mama, to stop working so late. In return, Nexus reminded her to drink water, to take breaks from her laptop, to not let me talk her into watching the same romantic comedy for the 9th time. Mama bought her own AI assistant and named it Grace. She programmed it to remind Tasha to actually go to the gym and to remind me to visit more often. Tasha refused to get one on principle. She said she had enough people judging her choices without adding a robot to the mix. As for me and Simone, we're still together, still learning about each other, still being called out by Nexus when we try to skip the hard conversations or when I get too comfortable and stop trying. Last Sunday, I was at Simone's place making dinner. Her kitchen was nicer than mine, her pots were newer, and she had one of those fancy knife sets that made me feel like a professional chef. I was telling her about my day, about a project at work, when her phone buzzed. It's from Nexus, she said, reading the message. What's it say? It says you've been thinking about something important all week, but you're too scared to bring it up. It calculated your stress patterns and your browsing history, and it thinks, oh. She looked up at me, eyes wide. I pulled the small box from my pocket, took a breath, got down on one knee right there in her kitchen, between the stove and the refrigerator, wearing an apron that said, "Kiss the cook." Simone, I know I'm not perfect. I order too much takeout, I dance badly, I need an AI to keep me from burning cornbread. But I'm trying. Every day, I'm trying to be the man you deserve. And I'd really like to spend the rest of my life trying with you. Will you marry me? She was crying. Happy tears. The good kind. Yes, she said. Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. I slid the ring on her finger. Kissed her while she laughed and cried at the same time. From her phone, Nexus chimed in. Congratulations, Darius. Your heart rate suggests genuine emotion rather than panic. This is progress. We both cracked up. We're keeping Nexus at the wedding, right? Simone asked. Absolutely. Someone needs to make sure I don't trip on the way to the altar. I'll add it to my calendar, Nexus said. And might I suggest you begin practicing your vows immediately? You have a tendency to ramble when nervous. Some people get guardian angels. I got a smart-mouthed AI with perfect timing and zero chill. But honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. Because here's what I learned. You can try to hide who you really are. You can put on a show, fake it till you make it, pretend you've got it all together. But the people who really matter, the people who really love you, they're gonna see through all that eventually. Better to just be yourself from the start. Mistakes, insecurities, weird dance moves and all, love isn't about being perfect. It's about being real. It's about letting someone see you at your worst and choosing to stay anyway. It's about family that calls you out when you're wrong but shows up when you need them. It's about an AI assistant that roasts you in front of guests but also tracks your good deeds when nobody's watching. It's about knowing that you're enough, exactly as you are. Even if you do order takeout 5.7 times a week. Mama and I were at the jeweler picking up Simone's wedding band when she turned to me, her eyes serious. Baby, I'm proud of you, she said. Not because you found a good woman, though Simone is wonderful, but because you found yourself first. You stopped trying to be what you thought people wanted and started being who you actually are. Mama, that's because Nexus wouldn't let me be anything else. She laughed. That robot is the best investment you ever made, even if it does have a big mouth. You know Nexus can hear you, right? You've got your phone in your purse, and it's connected. I know, Mama said, raising her voice slightly. I said what I said. From her purse, we heard Nexus reply. I appreciate the acknowledgement, Mrs. Mitchell. And for the record, you raised a good son. He just needed some additional guidance. Don't push it, Nexus, I warned. Noted. The wedding was small, family and close friends. We had it at a venue overlooking the city, the same skyline I'd looked at with Simone that first night on my balcony. Tasha was the maid of honor. She cried through the whole ceremony, which she absolutely denied later. Mama sat in the front row wearing a hat so fancy it had its own zip code, dabbing her eyes with a handkerchief and looking proud enough to burst. And yes, we had Nexus at the wedding, set up in a speaker near the DJ booth. When the preacher asked if anyone objected to the union, Nexus chimed in with, based on my analysis, this is a statistically optimal pairing. I have no objections. The whole room cracked up. During the reception, while everyone was dancing and eating and celebrating, I found a quiet moment to step outside, just to breathe, to take it all in. Tasha found me out there. You good? She asked. Yeah, really good. She leaned against the railing next to me. I'm happy for you, Dee. You deserve this. Thanks, Tash. And hey, for what it's worth, I'm sorry I used to give you so much grief. About the dating, the cooking, all of it. You were trying, and I made it harder. You're my little sister. It's literally your job to make my life harder. She bumped my shoulder with hers. Still, I see you now. The way you show up for people. The way you love Simone. The way you call Mama every Sunday. You're good people, big brother. Stop. You're going to make me cry, and I'm already emotional. One more thing. What? I'm getting my own Nexus. I turned to stare at her. Are you serious? Dead serious. If it can help you get your life together, maybe it can help me too. Plus, I need something to keep me honest about the gym. Tasha Michelle Mitchell admitting she needs help? Alert the press. Shut up and hug me. I hugged her, right there under the stars, while inside our family and friends celebrated. This is what it's all about, I thought. This messy, complicated, beautiful thing we call family. The people who know all your flaws and love you anyway. The people who show up, who call you on your mess, who celebrate your wins like they're their own. Darius, Nexus said from the speaker inside, voice carrying through the open door. Simone is looking for you. It's time for your first dance. Coming, Tasha and I walked back inside together. Simone was waiting on the dance floor in her white dress, looking like every dream I'd ever had come true. The DJ queued up our song, Usher, naturally, but a slow one this time, nothing that would risk my hamstring. I took her hand and pulled her close. No pulled muscles this time, she whispered. I make no promises. We swayed together while our family and friends watched, while Mama cried happy tears and Tasha recorded everything on her phone. And somewhere in the background, Nexus was probably monitoring my heart rate, tracking my happiness levels, compiling data on the most important night of my life. Let it record, I thought. Let it save every moment. Because this right here, this was the good stuff, the real stuff. The kind of love that doesn't need any filters or edits or carefully rehearsed lines. This was me, fully myself, flaws and all. And it was more than enough. It was everything. Like this video if it touched something in you. Subscribe if you want to hear more stories about what it means to be human, to be family, and to choose love, even when it's complicated. I'll see you next time.